Alrighty, well, hello, sinners. How are ya?
I'll go as long as you do, man. I'm not backing down.
We could stay here all night.
I'm ready to do this.
My arm's a little sore now. On today's installment of the Letterboard of Truth, our quote of the day is...
Sometimes the right side is actually on your left.
So true, bestie. So, if y'all didn't notice, I happen to have a friend joining me on the channel today. So say hello to Callie, aka FunkyFrogBait. Woo, 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 woo! The crowd goes wild.
Thank you everyone. I'm assuming thunderous virtual applause is playing right now.
So for the sinners at home who might not be familiar with your content, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself?
I make really goofy videos about internet drama that you do not have the time or patience to dig into, and I give it to you in a delicious, delectable, under 20 minutes, concentrated form that you can just watch and then forget about. FunkyFrogBait on all platforms. I also do really dorky skits on TikTok as well. FunkyFrogBait is surprisingly not a super popular requested name, so if I'm on a platform, I'm gonna be FunkyFrogBait.
I'm surprised because, like, you know the whole frog craze from 2020?
Oh yeah, it was like almost as bad as the mustache craze.
Oh god, you're bringing back flashbacks. Yeah. There are people who got like tattoos of the mustache.
Oh yeah. Those people still exist, by the way, and we love you.
They're happier than I'll ever be.
Honestly, the mushroom tatted people are gonna be the same way. I have mushrooms permanently on my body. We're no better than the mustache people.
History repeats itself.
Unfortunately.
But historically, since we're on the topic of history, dating as a conservative is hard. And as a Republican person yourself, do you face too much wokeism on your dating apps?
I'm seeing all of these, you know, blue-haired, piercing-having, unshaven women. You know, I like my women incredibly feminine and to look like they're 18, even if they're in their 40s. And frankly, it upsets me so much that that's not what I'm seeing on Tinder and the countless other dating apps that I'm desperately scrolling through. I got two phones.
One for Tinder, one for Bumble.
Yeah, exactly. And all I'm seeing is these blue-haired freaks.
But thankfully, we have a wonderful conservative dating app called The Right Stuff. Finally, we can take the wokeism and the snowflake-isms out of dating.
Couldn't have come sooner.
Snowflakes, they can't handle it.
The sun's coming out to melt them.
Put that on a shirt. So just to refresh everyone's memory, we're gonna watch the trailer for this dating app that they released last year. And I think it's gonna be really cool and really highlight how important American values are.
Patriotic nodding.
Should we do the Pledge of Allegiance before we start? Remix!
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America.
And to the republic for which it still stands, one nation, under God, specifically the Christian God.
And with liberty,
justice for all.
Real hot girl shit. We the best.
Flag. Real hot girl shit.
Without any further ado, I mean, I can't think of a better intro than that. Let's see what The Right Stuff is all about.
Hey guys, I'm Ryan. I've got to tell you about something I am so excited to announce.
A very feminine woman with long blonde hair. She knows how to present correctly as a godly woman should.
Absolutely.
A dating app for all of us conservatives.
Yes.
It's called The Right Stuff, and it's launching this September.
Man and a woman, just how it's supposed to be.
What I love most about it is that it's invite only, so not just anyone can join.
The high focus on the exclusivity, as if it's not a negative stereotype of your entire side of the political spectrum.
Like, they think they're giving Raya, but they're actually giving Christian Mingle.
And honestly, the overlap between those two apps is probably pretty big, so I'm not super surprised.
First of all, it's free to use. And for my ladies, you'll never have to pay because we all get premium subscriptions for simply inviting a couple friends. Gentlemen, if you want access to premium, that's on you. And by the way, those are the only two options. Ladies and gentlemen, The Right Stuff is all about getting into the right dating pool with people who share the same values and beliefs as you.
And I'm sure there are plenty of desperate men, and only men, who are more than willing to pay $14.99 a month or whatever the cost is.
I'm sure that app is absolutely raining chicks. There's definitely not a massive
Sausage fest.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not a massive gap between the gender percentages or anything like that.
So a bunch of godly men can match with other godly men.
And they can talk about how much they love women together.
And guns, beer, Trump, the Bible.
Talk about godly fellowship.
Is that what they call gay sex nowadays? What's the lesbian equivalent?
I'll pray for you.
I'll pray for you. What about the non-binary equivalent? Not that you guys exist.
I don't exist. I'm actually a figment that has been generated specifically for this video. I exist for entertainment purposes only. The moment the camera cuts off, no longer corporeal.
I'm just talking to a pair of floating cat headphones.
Yeah, I'm like John Cena.
What a reference. That was like the joke in 4th grade.
And you know what? It was funny every single time and never got old.
Even to this day.
Start off by building your perfect profile. No pronouns necessary.
Yes.
We want you to put your best foot forward, which includes your favorite photos of yourself doing what you love.
Not the Trump meet and greet photo.
But that's competition, man. I don't want to see a gorgeous woman next to the most sexually desirable man in the world. I know I have no chance at that point. The standard has been set too high. I am not even gonna swipe right. I'm gonna be too intimidated at that point.
Yeah, it's like, who do I want to kiss more?
Exactly. I can't compete with those voluptuous curves.
Trump or the woman? Our bisexual viewers are going insane right now.
We're sorry that you've had to endure years of bad dates and wasted time with people that don't see the world our way, the right way. Okay, once you're in the app, you have the ability to scroll through profiles of people in your area.
There he is!
That is our man.
Our short king at 5'9".
Sneaky little, hey, ladies, by the way.
I'm a God-fearing Republican in your area.
I love a humble king, though. He says he's 5'9". He doesn't claim the 6 foot. I appreciate an honest king.
Right.
In the app, you can see everyone who's liked your profile. And if you like them back, you can start chatting with them. It's that simple.
Yes.
So if you're a young conservative looking to amp up your dating life,
I'm a young
go
conservative.
to joinrightstuff.com to gain early access. We need to get back to the right way of dating. See you there.
How do you feel? Do you feel empowered as a young Republican person?
I definitely feel empowered. I also love how it's like super obvious in that ad that she's reading off a cue card.
Join the right stuff. Make the right decision. No more pronouns.
It's like an intern like flipping cards as fast as possible.
Hi. I have a challenge for you. Google your first and last name right now. I triple dog dare you. You might be surprised at how much of your personal information, like your legal name, personal email, address, phone number, and even your relatives' information, is out there for anyone to see. In fact, I Googled a few of my family members' full names, and sure enough, what should be their private information was out there for anyone to access. This is all available because data brokers profit off of selling your information to anyone who wants to learn more about you, whether that be robocallers, spammers, or telemarketers. But there is a solution for this. And that would be Aura. Aura is a service designed to identify data brokers exposing your information and automatically submit opt-out requests on your behalf. Since I started partnering with Aura, they have successfully removed my personal information from 24 data broker websites. In addition, Aura keeps track of your emails and passwords to see if they were exposed on the dark web. This was actually how I learned that I was one of 200 million Twitter users whose personal email account was exposed in a data breach. Aura goes above and beyond to minimize online threats for you and your loved ones at a very affordable price. Why download a bunch of different confusing softwares when everything you need is available on Aura's app? The app features parental controls, a VPN, password manager, real-time credit and identity theft monitoring, as well as malware protection for your registered devices. When I worked with Aura last month, I mentioned that I was easily able to find my girlfriend's address, and since that video, she was convinced to try Aura for herself. Knowing that a company like Aura exists to protect my loved ones on the internet gives me peace of mind. So let Aura do the hard work of keeping you safe online. If you sign up right now, Aura will give you a 2-week free trial when you go go to aura.com/Annamarie. That's aura.com/Annamarie. You can click the link at the top of the description to try out Aura for yourself, or just scan this convenient QR code right here. Thank you very much to Aura for sponsoring today's video and for keeping my sinners safe online. Now let's get back to your scheduled programming. Just like every other app, they've taken to TikTok to promote to young Gen Z Republicans of the United States.
Yeah, because all of those 14-year-olds on TikTok are desperate for a dating app to use.
You would think that they would take advantage of the platform that they have to advertise how good their app is, but it's like they almost know how much of a failure it's been. So instead, they've have the CEO on liberals through corny skits the entire time.
Dunking on those liberal teenagers. That's what we need more of today.
Yeah, let's make their teenage years even worse.
They've had it too good for a full 10 years of life. Let's immediately fix that.
So you're probably wondering, who is this gorgeous young bachelor gracing the Date Right Stuff's TikTok page?
An eligible husband, if I ever saw one.
God-fearing, Trump-loving, gun-carrying American.
Just like my daddy would want me to have.
Oh yeah. His name is John McEntee, and he was actually the political aide for Donald Trump during his 2016 presidential run. How cool is that?
That's awesome. How'd that go?
Really well until March 2018, when he got fired for gambling issues and not having the proper security clearance.
Yanking on that slot machine a few too many times.
His gamble back in 2018 was bad, but this gamble into his new TikTok career is going well. It's paying off. We should start with the video that initially put him on the map.
All right. I refuse to believe this man was not a theater kid. That choreography was too on point.
You could take the kid out of the theater, but you can't take the theater out of the kid.
It latches inside of them like a parasite.
I saw a comment when I was going through his TikTok page that he looks like he'd be on Glee, and that is so fucking true.
Oh, you're so right.
I think he would be so good on Broadway or like a TV show, but instead he's doing this.
Get him on stage immediately.
Like his little... That made me feel something.
I nearly shed a tear.
A lot of conservative talking heads on social media, most of them have failed acting or media careers, so I really wouldn't be surprised if he like tried out for Broadway or went to Hollywood to chase his dreams.
They go straight for the grift when Hollywood dumps them. It's a prevalent trend, for sure.
The caption for this next one is "Society needs strong men." That's so fucking true.
Absolutely.
You know, they actually say 40% of cops are manly men. If you look up that statistic, 40% of cops.
Yeah, just look up 40% of cops, it'll come up. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's the first link. Let's see why society needs strong, manly men.
Right stuff parenting tip. Teach your boys to become men before their teachers teach them to become women.
You know how in like movies and stuff, they'll show like the villain doing something weird, you know, drinking milk and then eating cereal, or just having a warm glass of milk randomly?
Yes.
That's how I feel about the way he just ate that ice cream.
He's like an alien trying to assimilate to society.
This is how humans eat ice cream.
Ice cream / Froyo, whatever he's eating, that's like a common theme. So you'll see more of him eating ice cream in a very interesting way.
He eats froyo, and he's gonna hold other men to an extremely high standard for manliness. Okay.
When Froyo is like the most like baby girl of all the desserts.
Let's just say it now. This man is so baby girl.
He is. He's girly pop.
Just hop over the fence, brother. You will be embraced.
But what do you think of that? Like, they're teaching young boys how to become women. What are your thoughts on that?
It's so interesting because the narrative can go both ways. It can be either like schools are teaching men that they're not allowed to be manly and confusing masculine traits with toxic masculinity, or it can be this guy's like convinced that schools are just shooting kids with the trans ray and they're gonna come home in like a mini skirt and be like, "Mom, I'm sorry. I wanted to be a boy, but Mrs. Brown shot me with the trans ray. I have no other choice."
I got transed in English class today, Mom.
Right at the 3rd chapter of To Kill a Mockingbird.
Okay, so this next one is just called A Man Can Dream.
Dreaming about holding beefy, beautiful men.
In a
It's based.
I do think it's so interesting that there seems to be such a confusion over fairness and equality versus sameness. And I think a lot of conservatives feel so threatened because they perceive equality as sameness and a demand for sameness. And of course, perfect sameness would be irrational and crazy, but no one is advocating for that. Also, he said fully off for drug addicts. If I get zooted on edibles multiple times a week, does that count?
I think you're entitled to 1 free Gucci purse a month.
See, this is based because I benefit from it.
I also like at the beginning how he mentioned like having a female model for pantsuits. As a lesbian who has to deal with ill-fitting suits all the time, I think that would just be like a really great step in the right direction for us masked lesbians.
I love how that was like presented as like such a crazy thing, but pantsuits have been popularized since the 80s. Why would you be upset by this?
Like, no one thinks about this in real life. On to the next one. It's such a really original and funny joke. I've never heard that before, have you?
No, me neither. There definitely isn't a very popular commentator that makes that exact joke every single year.
Twice a year.
I know so many non-binary people that just still go by mom and dad. And if not, their kid just comes up with like a fun name. Like we give grandparents fun names like Gigi and Mimi.
Meemaw, Peepaw. Seesaw.
No one gets upset about Gigi, Meemaw, Patty Cake, whatever grandkids call it, but all of a sudden the parent wants to be called something that's not gendered and it's weird. I've infiltrated the left and I have found that they do not in fact talk like this. They still just say Happy Mother's Day.
Crazy.
It's hard to believe, but it's true.
That invalidates all of their points.
I know, how dare they?
They're like the same people who talk about, and this is something we joked about, like keep it in the privacy of your own home. Meanwhile, a kid calls their parent something other than mom and dad in the privacy of their own home, and that's an issue.
Yeah, it's only privacy one direction.
But they can know like what trans kids and trans people in general are doing.
Absolutely. Monitored cameras in every room. If you're a trans person, you're actually assigned a local conservative dad to monitor cameras in your home at all times.
Even in some houses, they have a conservative guy standing at the foot of your dining room table. So if a kid's like, Mom, can you pass the peas? He's like, what? What the f did you say? It's crazy. We're living in 1984.
They're coming for your kids. I'm just thinking about how I would feel if I saw a grown man doing this in public. When you become someone who makes content for a living, you suddenly have like an understanding of the ridiculousness that brings about said content. He had a buddy of his hold a phone. Press record multiple times. Like he probably like did a take and like tripped and he's like, oh man, no, you do it again.
Oh, I have to do my jig again.
You can't make fun of people for masculinity and not masculinity and like talk about manly men and then do a jig in a parking lot 5 or 6 times while your friend records you. It doesn't work that way.
Like imagine you just came back from a really like tiring doctor's appointment. You go to the pharmacy, they don't have your medication. You have to wait for 20 minutes and then you just see this goofy dude just like,
okay, man, like, I just need to get home. My kids are hungry. They haven't eaten today. Please step aside, sir.
I'm having so much fun watching these. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
Here's the next one.
See, this is accidentally super based. A true leftist snowflake would know that it's actually massive corporations that are destroying our planet and not the individual wasteful actions of the citizens.
Right.
So accidentally, super based of him to make fun of an obsession with not using your car as if that's gonna help gallons of oil being dumped into the oceans.
Or all the gas just being pumped into the ozone layer, destroying.
Just the sky. Just destroying the sky. We don't need that. What does the sky do anyway?
Or like the crazy wildfires.
I mean, those just happen sometimes. Yeah, the earth gets a little toasty sometimes. It's okay.
Get a couple weenies, get a couple marshmallows, and have a little bonfire.
Yeah, resourcefulness. That's what this this generation doesn't have: resourcefulness.
Pick yourself up by your bootstraps. I don't care if your house was burned down. I don't care if you lost your dog in the fire.
Back in my day, you pull out the s'mores when the earth sets on fire, okay?
I know we have a lot of older people that follow us as well, and if you're confused, when someone says, I identify as, what they're saying is, I'm pretending to be. So a man, I identify as a woman, he's pretending to be a woman. And there are certain things you can't identify as though, so be careful, like an Indian, things like that.
Wait, what?
Identify as an Indian? That's interesting wording.
What was he, like, referring to?
I guess he's saying that, like, language has changed so much that old people wouldn't be able to understand the process of identifying. So he can just tell them it's a game of pretend. That's how ridiculous it is to identify as anything other than what you're assigned at birth.
Yeah, as if trans people haven't been around since the beginning of time.
As if there haven't been multiple cultures. For instance, the concept of being two-spirited. Traditions that are literally thousands of years old or anything. No, it's just invented by blue-haired 14-year-olds 5 years ago.
Or the fact that the Torah recognizes 6 sexes.
That was added recently. It's like a Wikipedia article. People got in there and just started adding stuff.
That was a footnote added in 2019 in the Torah.
Yeah, no, they just snuck that one in there when we weren't looking.
Like how they added homosexuality to the Bible in the 40s to switch out the meaning from pedophilia to blaming the gays.
But that was just, we were bringing out the truth of the scriptures.
Right.
Because it doesn't really matter if, like, people are preying on children. Just 2 men holding hands. That's what we gotta make sure people know is bad.
I can excuse pedophilia, but I draw the line at homosexuality.
Exactly.
Liberal on a dinner date.
You know, they don't split checks here, so I'll throw it on my card and you can Venmo me later. We'll split it right down the center. I won't knock you for that extra spring roll you had either.
I've never understood that splitting the check being a bad thing. I've never understood that.
Like, I've heard the notion, like, if you ask the other person out, you should be paying.
See, that's just polite, though.
But I feel like for a first date, you don't know this person.
Nobody should be in the hole for taking a risk for love.
I remember I also did that on my first date with my partner. We split the check.
See, lesbians don't have this issue, guys. The lesson is, be a lesbian. Keep it simple. Keep it lesbian.
Keep it lesbian. That's beautiful. The logic is that men pay, right? So when 2 men go on a date, what happens?
They have to arm wrestle.
They have to fight to the death.
It's the only way it can be done.
And then 2 women, it's just like, huh? Like, no you, no you.
No you. Both their purses are empty because they woman and don't have job. No you.
No, please. No you.
No you.
Then we just wind up dining and dashing. I don't know. I've always been the type to just like split the check.
Yeah, it's the least messy way to do things. Actually, I'm gonna push back on that. I say individual checks because splitting the checks makes like a weird pressure of like, oh, I can't like get something much more expensive than them or else they're gonna be paying. So then if you just like do 2 checks, then I can have my lobster bisque and you can have your crouton and nobody has to feel guilty. It's just all good.
At some restaurants, they actually have like the little iPad where you can just like select your items.
This is what technology should be doing, not putting artists out of a job. Should be splitting checks evenly so nobody gets into a heated domestic fight in the car on the way home.
When they say capitalism is innovation, this is what they're referring to. All right, so liberal dad at prom.
Oh boy.
Over here, guys. Looking good, son. I wish you would have gone with the dress, though.
A dad who loves and cares for his son no matter what he wears. Ugh.
It's so interesting because it seems to be this idea that like parents that are open to their children expressing themselves in unique ways are like, they need it to happen. It's not an openness, it's a demand. And I think it's because, from their perspective, conservative parents have a lot of specific demands for their children to abide by when it comes to presentation and how they talk and how they act and how godly they are. So they assume that the opposite of that would be the same strictness, but just in the other direction.
Right.
But it's actually just openness and communication and love instead. So it seems hard for them to wrap their minds around, I'm just cool with what my kid does. I'm not forcing them to be anything at all, either feminine or masculine. I guess they assume because they want such demanding things of their kids that liberal parents have to be the same way, and it's so odd to me.
Yeah, I mean, you rarely hear stories of like, oh, I grew up in a very liberal, progressive household and I had to break out and undo the ideology that I was taught growing up. It's always the opposite.
That's gotta just be correlation, though, not causation.
Right, yeah.
Let's not draw any hasty conclusions here.
No, not at all. I genuinely don't see how this is like supposed to be an insult.
I feel like he's grabbing at straws. He's running out of ideas. He's got to get creative with it.
Yeah, he can only do so many skits in the yogurt shop.
They kicked him out, actually. He's not allowed to enter any yogurt shop in the frozen yogurt place in the country. He got banned from all of them.
They have his picture on the wall that says, "Do not let him in."
Yeah, exactly. They bar the doors when they see him.
All right, we have 3 left to power through.
Okay.
Here we go.
Dad, I'm not getting any playing time. Can I switch sports? Absolutely not. We are not quitters. But you can switch genders.
There's so many things that are interesting about that logic. First off, I love random metaphors where it's just like two things that have nothing to do with each other but sound really cool when you say it out loud and is therefore a logical argument. Love that. The pencil and the pencil sharpener can be used for men and women, but no, we don't use that. We actually use locks and keys, and that's the only valid one.
Right.
I just love these very specific metaphors that always seem to work in one direction and that for some reason are a valid argument because I said this thing is like this thing, so therefore this thing must be like this thing because I said it is.
That's what they call false equivalency.
Ooh, breaking out those academic terms.
And again, with the fucking yogurt shop.
I wonder if he filmed all of them back to back though. Maybe he's efficient with it. Runs in the bathroom, switches shirts, puts on some powder, and then runs out and pretends it's like a different day. But he just recorded these all back to back to back to back.
And he has different yogurt flavors in every video, so he just orders like 10 different cups of it.
I'm on a schedule, people. It's like screaming at the teenager behind the counter.
I said chocolate sprinkles! All right, this next one.
Oh, I'm reading the title and okay.
It's not so discreet racism.
Usually they're really good at no, actually they're not. They're not really good at hiding it.
No.
They try though. They try.
Am I wrong? Probably.
Probably at this point, buddy.
What do you mean I was denied the contract? I wasn't lying. I identify as a black-owned business. I thought that's how it works.
Ethnicity is genetic, gender is not.
This refusal to accept even engaging with the idea that gender and sex are different. No matter how many times it's been explained, either in very simple terms or very complex sociological academic terms, it doesn't matter. It's just gender and sex are the same, therefore race. Once again, false equivalency, you're just saying one thing is like something else, and I have to just suspend disbelief and follow you with that assumption, and if I do, of course you sound like you know what you're talking about, because you've presented us with the premise of two things are the same and they're not.
It comes from the same sort of origin as people who say that transhood is like woman face, or like trans women, quote unquote, pretending to be women is the same as blackface. Have you seen that argument?
I've heard similar things where like a trans woman is basically making a mockery of femininity rather than loving it and embracing it and seeking to identify with it, which is what trans women actually do. False equivalency is the best way you can sum it up. It's just like you're taking two things and saying they're the same and they're not. Sociology is actually complex and you can't just say A equals B. It's crazy.
Yeah, they tend to have like such black and white thinking.
No room for gray, ever.
No, and this is a problem with the internet in general, that there's like no nuance whatsoever.
The safety of anonymity allows you to take really harsh, hateful stances with very little repercussions, so you don't feel inclined to be understanding or seek to understand or look at the context of a situation before making a really harsh judgment.
Again, like you said, it's been explained time and time again 50 different ways, and until they grasp that basic concept, it's going to be hard for them to learn to accept trans people.
I was raised that way. It took me a long time. It's not an easy thing if you've been programmed from a very young age to believe it, but like the moment you kind of can separate the two things in your head, it's like an eye-opening moment of like, oh, whoa, the world is so much bigger and brighter and cooler than I thought it was. I thought it was like this simple divide and everything was in all these simple boxes, but no, it's actually a big spaghetti noodle fest of all these beautiful, bizarre, different people all coming together, and that's what makes society. It's not this blanket box A is bad, box B is good type thing. It's so much more beautiful and complicated and crazy. And I wish I could share that with people, but it takes a lot of internal work to get to that point.
They have to wanna try to see it from your perspective to even like consider it.
Right.
Most of the time they're gonna hear what they want to hear and make false equivalencies, like being trans is the same as blackface, when blackface has a very distinct racist history.
Right, exactly.
I would say out of all of them, this one pissed me off the most.
It's lazy, frankly. Like, the conclusion is just really lazy. I think that's what makes this one really frustrating, is it's just super lazy, and it doesn't try to make any actual arguments. It just kind of drops this ridiculous statement on you and is like, haha, gotcha.
It's not a gotcha.
It's not a gotcha. It's not.
But we're gonna end on a lighter note.
Great, good.
And I feel like this is a topic that both liberals and conservatives can agree on. I mean, I think everyone hates paper straws.
Yeah, no, it's the same thing with all of our cartoons telling us to save water and put things in recycling and use paper straws and
turn the water off when you brush your teeth.
It's putting the guilt of our dying planet on, 8-year-olds watching cartoons who've literally made zero imprint on the planet so that you can distract from the massive damage being done by incredibly greedy corporations that are just openly destroying things on a massive scale. So honestly, I think liberals and conservatives could honestly join together on this issue, because it's annoying to have that pressure put on you when you know that your personal impact is so small. Like, it's stupid to be like, oh, if you use that straw, you're the one killing all the fish and the turtles in the ocean. It's like, no, my tiny little impact is so small compared to the actual damage being done on a wide scale.
Right. Like, to say that someone using a plastic straw or like a plastic cup is the same as a rich person flying in a private jet for 40 minutes to get from point A to point B is the same thing on any level is preposterous.
Yeah, it's just not comparable. It's even beyond like individual millionaires. It's like multi-million-dollar industries that use like slave labor, and they use like toxic materials, and they dump toxic materials at like a level just so big that it's like incomparable to that little straw that you use to drink your Sprite for lunch. Like, it's just, you can't even compare the two.
It's just unfortunate that something like the environment, which is something we should all care about because we all live on this planet, has become so politicized as opposed to us joining together as a human race being like, what are we gonna do? We want to preserve life going forward, and we want to make sure our kids and our kids' kids live in a healthy, sustainable world. How are we gonna do that? But instead it's just like, let's make fun of 16-year-old Greta Thunberg on Twitter because LOL woke.
Well, yeah, it's a dunk. It's all about the dunk. You gotta get the dunk on those blue-haired 16-year-olds. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, like, most of these people, they're like in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. They're not gonna be around. They don't care. They're about to die. They literally will be unaffected by most of the voting decisions that they make. Why should they care? Why should they join hands across the aisle if it's not gonna affect them either way?
Because if it doesn't affect them, it's gonna affect their family and generations that have come after them.
Yeah, it's just a lack of empathy at the end of the day. I definitely think it's ridiculous that this could not be a cross-party issue. Like, there's a lot of things that I think are just like, you can't really mesh between the two parties, but I feel like environmentalism could so easily be like
bipartisan.
Totally bipartisan issue, but people spreading very clever propaganda to make it sound like a politicized thing when it doesn't need to be.
You could say the same thing about healthcare. Everyone in this country would benefit from free healthcare, accessible healthcare. Like, isn't it worth investing in the health and safety of your citizens?
We don't even gotta go full socialist with it. Maybe just at least start with being like, how do we make it better? Can we at least start with that? Like, can we all just acknowledge, first off, that it's bad, and then like, what can we possibly do to make it at least slightly better? But yeah, no, everything is very politicized and like scorching hot to touch.
Yeah.
So it makes it kind of impossible to talk about.
Yeah, and Republicans like him have to be contrarian because everything is woke these days and they don't want to give in to the mob. But like, they're also impacting the US population negatively because by not caring about the environment or people's health, in 50 years down the line, where are we going to be? Probably in a lot shittier mess than we are now.
That's so right, like what you're saying, because it's like, in his mind, I imagine in his mind, he's like, if I budge on the straws, they're gonna shoot my kids with the trans ray. Like, there's this idea that all of these separate ideas and issues are all completely meshed together, and if you even slightly budge towards being more empathetic or environmentally conscious, it's a slippery slope, and all of a sudden people are gonna be invading your home and forcing you to say, slay queen before dinner every night, and it's just like this terror and this fear of the unknown that I think can be really helped by educating people, but at the end of the day, it needs to be, you need to have a receptive, open mind to even begin to understand these things and be more accepting.
Highly self-centered people at the end of the day.
There's just a tunnel vision, I think, is the big issue. It's just gotta make sure they lose and I win kind of mentality, and just not seeing anything beyond that.
They see it as a game to win. Like, oh, we crushed the liberals today.
And there's no thought beyond that about like the larger issue and the impact that it causes.
They can say that they want to care and protect for the children all the livelong day until they turn blue in the face, but you know, their decisions and their opinions are affecting their children as well and putting them in harm's way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the countless stories of children coming from conservative homes with a lot of trauma because of either like corporeal punishment, traditional like parenting methods that are really like harmful to your child's development, not accepting their kids because they're queer or they're trans or whatever it is, I think is evidence enough that there's a problem with empathy, and it's really upsetting to see. I mean, maybe when the world is literally on fire, maybe then it will be a bipartisan issue. Maybe when literally all of us are dying and there's no doctors to cure us or medicine left because it's not profitable enough to make it, then maybe we'll all come together. Maybe when things actually get absolutely horrible, something will bring us all together and sing Kumbaya. I don't know.
Maybe when we're all on death's doorstep.
Yeah, maybe.
Finally, we'll consider accessible healthcare. What a way to end.
Yeah, no, super not depressing at all. I always am just an absolute shining beacon of light wherever I go.
Yeah, just a little existentialism to brighten your day.
Absolutely, that's what I'm here for.
What a society we live in. We live in a society.
Joker was right. We live in a society.
This is the most society I've ever seen.
Personally, I would have to agree. It's so society in its society-ness.
Truly, honestly, truly. Thank you for going down this wonderful existentialist trip with me.
Absolutely.
This was so fun. For the sinners at home again, please let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, so I'm FunkyFrogBait on everything. You can find me on YouTube. I got an Instagram. I got a TikTok. I also am on Twitter. I like questionable things. Don't worry about that. Don't go looking for it. And I have had a wonderful time making this with you today. I think this has been super fun. Thank you so much for having me on the channel.
Likewise, thank you for being here, and thank you for being you.
Absolutely. All right, bye guys.
Alrighty, well, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to give it the tiniest thumbs up possible and subscribe to both of us down below. FunkyFrogBait channel will be linked in the description. We love you guys, and we'll see you soon with brand new videos. Bye!
Bye. I say Trump wins 90% of the time. Have you seen that man?
Oh, he's daddy.
It's giving BBL, honestly.